I guess we'll start without him, and hopefully he can manage to get on. Let's see. But so this was for me a surprising win for Gallowglass. I don't know what you guys expected going in. I did not expect the double choke composition just because we haven't seen it. To be honest, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention. Normally I have like an alias set up that I can just do like who stars, and it does a who is for every star player, and I have one of those for every team. I've got it set up for some of the teams right now for this season, but I've just been kind of lazy in some respects this season, so I don't actually have that just yet.
That's useful. I might make one of those here for me.
Let's see if I can add him to the call.
Charlie's still trying to join.
Oh, he hasn't accepted the request yet. There we go.
Oh, he got in. He finally got in.
Useful. I might make one of those here for me.
Okay, cool. Alright, so yeah, like I said, I wasn't paying a super amount of attention to who you guys had online, and you haven't had that double choke composition yet this season, I don't think. So
we've run it before.
You have this season?
We've run it before. Yeah, we did. We ran it once before against the same team actually. It didn't produce the desired result, so there was some debate as whether or not we were going to try it again or not.
Then what do you think was the difference here then?
Well, you know, I think it was an experience question really with Arthais. Arthais is one of them, and then the other one was, I think, no aerial. The aerial makes a huge difference.
Just in terms of offering you guys better communication?
Exactly. Because with the guys that don't have as much ACFL experience, sometimes I'm shooting simple tells to them or whatever, trying to give them some pointers, or even just communicating within the team on the field.
If you give me just a second.
Everyone knows that aerial is just huge.
Hang on one second.
Sure.
Okay, I had the recording stopped. I just started it back up. So
okay.
We hadn't gotten very far. We were just talking a little bit about what the difference between last times that Gallowglass ran this strategy against Hydra and tonight was, and you're saying that was a lot to do with the aerial and the lack of deafen this time around.
That, and I think Arthais has got a little bit more experience. You know, those that live in the non-clan world are a little bit of a disadvantage if they get in there and do BBs or whatever. So if they're just living in that crafting world of Kingdom, which there's nothing wrong with that at all, sometimes they don't get all of that PK experience. It really helps in ACFL.
And that's,
you know what? Well, go on.
Well, that's been an issue with, you know, some of the drafts I've done, and I just went over this a little bit in the interview with the Brutes and Stars players, which was, you know, Grump. You know, when I initially drafted Grump, he was in that position where he was just kind of a kingdomer. He didn't have a whole lot of, you know, he had some very minor PK related experience, but you know, as ACFL has gone on, I've kept him around on the team as support and a backup player. And as things have gone through, you know, he's jumped into clanning a little bit. He's gotten a little bit more experience, and to the point where at least, you know, regardless of whether or not he feels more comfortable, I feel more comfortable fielding him.
Right.
And he, you know, he's got more experience and he does learn, you know. And that's a position where a lot of players that come into ACFL period are, you know, because not every single, there's a lot of positions to fill in ACFL. You know, there's 8 players per team right now. It used to be 10, so that's 48 or 60 players. Not all of them is going to be, you know, a PK star, right?
Of course not. No.
So,
but I think in the case of when you're looking at an armsman or someone to do a double choke strategy, they need to be on their game. You know what I mean? Especially as a human, where you don't have that strength or that oomph behind your choke or whatever. So you got to choose your targets. You got to adjust strategy, maybe shield up, whatever it is. And those are things that you're not going to get as a kingdom or a whole lot. I think, and I mean, there's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with it as long as they get into some BBs and stuff. But Arthais was kind of anti-BB for a while, and I've been working on him to get him out and get some more experience.
Mhm.
Well, it's not really just about being anti-BB. I also, I'm king of arcane. I mean, that's kind of a full-time position, in an RP game. So like even during the match, I'll get tells randomly like, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Hey, we need to set up this meeting." And I'm like sitting there just trying to choke people, and it's kind of difficult to kind of balance two worlds.
Royal decree: anybody that sends the king a tell during ACFL gets exiled.
Yeah, I could
Or
totally make that
bring them
decree.
100 whale vials.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, man. If they're gonna be distracting you while you play, set them to work prepping for you, man.
I just want to
There's nothing
note
I haven't
that
told them there.
on the side note, I did almost twice as many chokes as both Arthais and Ferg combined.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
little
Just stating.
Well,
dropping
I
some
mean,
bombs here.
you're on top of your game. I even sent you a tell
Yeah.
about that, and I was actually really surprised as well. Only because I thought that we had you guys up against the ropes there for a little while, and then, when I was down, I thought that I could just get right back up, right back into it without anyone really noticing me. But as soon as I got up, I was right back down.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
an interesting turnaround because at the beginning of the match, Gallowglass had very firm control. Felt like Arthais, you and Ferg were both getting chokes off, keeping the flash blinds on, just really had just total control of the game, it seemed like. And then at some point, Perrinn got a choke off, and then he got another choke off, and then he got another choke off, and then it seemed like for a little while, he was able to wrest control back with those chokes and turn things around. But in the end, any small slip up or even just a couple of bad rolls on his choke skill, and then you guys were able to get control again.
Yeah. Perrin's a huge asset, I think. Perrinn is just really good at what he does, as far as utility and everything. He's got his limitations, but the limitations he has are a result of race, not anything more than that. I mean, the player skill is all there.
I mean, you've been with the team since what, season 3, I think, Perrinn?
Yeah, but I didn't play season 4 because I got a little annoyed at Darshan season 4. Like I was all set to play, and then he drafts one person. Second person he drafts wouldn't play, and then the rest he missed every single other draft. And after the previous season that we had, I was a little demoralized in a way. Kind of quit the game.
Well,
That sucks. I felt bad for Hydra during in that time. I remember how that was.
Yeah, yeah. But I was actually happy with their draft this season. I was even telling Bodrum about it, and I thought that they drafted pretty well. Actually, I was really surprised with the results.
Oh, I agree completely. Both Rick Law and Vira were I don't know how he wants us to pronounce that or whatever, but those were both picks that I really when everything started, and it started all of a sudden, I kicked those over to Farduk, and those two were up in my list of people that I said grab them if you can,
So where do you guys think this goes into the future as far as Gallowglass goes?
You guys don't mess.
I think Azheri wants to say something.
Sure. You there,
Oh,
Azheri?
how did you know? Yeah.
All right.
Azheri, you can
Can you
type
hear
it
me?
into the chat. Oh yeah, we can. Go ahead.
So I really think that the only reason why we lost is because we didn't have the arrow with us. So me, Rekla, and Vera, we've been playing together for quite some time in the clan, and we are pretty close to being at the point where we really don't need to talk to each other, and we're pretty flexible on our tactics.
Yeah.
Perrinn and A-Rock we don't play with as often as we would like, but I mean Perrinn definitely has improved a lot, just like Arthais. The chokes were really well executed, but we weren't being as flexible as we could be. Perrinn wasn't supposed to keep Ferg choked the entire fight, but I think there was a little bit of miscommunication there, and that's what happened. Even though Rekla was hitting Ferg over and over again.
Yeah.
They told me choke Ferg, and it was just because he's healing, and I took that as he's my new choke target, as opposed to yeah. So I ended up choking him. Yeah, and I didn't realize the communication was choke Ferg once and keep choking the person you're supposed to be choking. That makes sense.
And then, like, going back to A-Rock, in our previous fights, he was dying fairly early, and even though, like, he's full of mana, there's no way to drain all his mana, whereas this time, he completely ran dry of mana, but he stayed at really high HP, and he didn't die. So we were kind of going on a 3-man thing, not to mention Simiad himself was able to take us 3.
Mm-hmm. Now that's the big threat that the Blade Singers pose as the carriers. I've gone over this a lot in the past, but it's just as far as flag carriers go, it's like the big main carriers are either you have the Invoker for the anti-magic carriers, or you have the Blade Singers for the anti-melee carry.
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That's fine. It's just so I think if you don't have a good way of killing a Blade Singer, you guys have a very mid-sized team setup. Orc, humans, and then the aerial, and not a huge amount of spell damage outside of Arok. So it can be hard to take down a Blade Singer. And you do have the double Holy Smite, which helps against the chain, but then you still have to try and get past his defenses and his offenses even.
Without putting you too much inside of my head, though, I do want to let you know that Blade Singer for me is not always, especially in the case of Gallowglass, he's not always my first choice for a carrier. Depending on the strategy that I'm going with, I don't want him carrying. In this case, I did want him carrying because I was counting on the fact that Rikla and Azheri and these guys, they're killers. So as soon as someone's got a flag, he wants to kill that guy,
All right. So
whereas,
do you favor him then in that floater role where you kind of just hang out outside the fight, try and track down the stragglers, and take advantage of your one-on-one power? Kind of like Invokers fall into that position occasionally as well, where you just kind of have the Invoker AMS and look around for the guy that's alone and chain him as opposed to fighting with the rest of the group.
Yeah, because we ran it before a couple of times where, for example, and I learned this very early in the season with Simia, I had him pick up, and then the other team picked up. All right, now what do? I got Ferg, I got me, and I got Farduck. And for me, Ferg and Farduck to take down somebody, if they're 4-on-3, it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah, Pukjes are definitely not ideal for taking a straight engagement.
Exactly. So in this case, I counted on the fact that if Simi had picked up, Azheri and Rikla would go after him, and it would bring the fight to us, and that's the situation that we wanted.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth that goes on trying to keep people, trying to manage what kind of fighting happens. Do you want the 3-on-4? Do you want, do you want to just take the 4-on-4? Do you want to try and do it 3-on-3 with the flag carriers outside? Depending on your composition, it definitely can change how you want that engagement to go.
For sure. It was a good match, though. I think Hydra's going to continue to be a really tough match for us. No matter who they field, it's going to be a tough fight. And they're definitely, I think, our main contenders for the number 3 spot, honestly.
So, you guys think you have an answer for Sharks then? Because they're looking pretty scary as of late.
I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but they've got a lot of spell bait, man.
They do have a lot of spell bait, that's true, and with pixie casting, even though it might be a little overkill in this situation, it is a threat. The spell damage is a threat.
And in this particular case, Necro is particularly good.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You get the black curse or whatever. You can do a lot with that.
Yeah.
Then what about So are you pretty confident with the lineup that you went with? Obviously this falls again into maybe information you don't want to share, but are you guys feel pretty confident with the lineup that you ran tonight? Is that something you look to reuse?
Yeah, well, this was a risky trial run, right? Because I did not want to lose tonight, but I felt like this was probably the best strategy for tonight, if we could pull it off, and it worked. Um, Being that it did work, you might see this again. I might try it out in some other situations, but things that I really, really want to win, I'm going to go with what works best. I'm not going to try to run this if I don't feel comfortable with it.
And that's the thing about the double choke and really just choked in at all. It's you have to have very reliable players that you can count on to fulfill that role, because if they can't get those chokes off, then you're kind of it's kind of dead weight, right?
Right.
At least with
Well, yeah.
if you're talking about an assassin, then you still have the flexibility with the utility of flash bomb. But if you're talking about an armsman that can't get the chokes off, then you're really like, well, what are you doing in there?
Yeah. Then you got a weapon switch. I mean, there's other things an armsman can do, is depending on this layout of the other team. But if he goes in there with the mindset that I'm choking, and then that choke just is not working out, it kind of throws your whole game off.
Yeah, and the unreliability of just my choke alone, it's a factor that we do think about. I can be kind of 50-50, with a lot of these like smaller races, like humans or elves I can do pretty well. But even like dwarves, I know that I could get someone like Baldrum down, but like someone else like a mountain dwarf, it's a little bit harder.
So, the one thing though is, as a human armsman, like you said, your choke can be a little unreliable as the only choker, but as a secondary choker, when you have the larger choker in Berg, I think that puts you in a much more comfortable position where you can focus on the smaller targets and he can focus on the bigger targets. I think it makes you much stronger than you would be on your own.
I agree with that actually. It's something that we kind of dabbled in back in I believe it was season 3 when we made our championship run. We were kind of running a sort of double choke, double heel sort of situation, and when I was like the secondary choker, that's when we really shined back then. So I think taking that role even now is definitely key and great for us.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys have read the write-up that I did last night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my estimation of where you guys felt, had changed recently in the last, week or two of ACFL.
Yeah.
Because I do feel to some degree that you guys have a certain compositional problem where individually you have a lot of strong characters and a lot of strong players that don't necessarily mesh that well into like a solid lineup. And so, you may disagree with me there. I, you know, and the double choke, can help mitigate that for sure.
Right.
Because that in itself is, a large portion of the lineup. But, you guys came straight back at me with a win against Hydra, and so, maybe I was wrong, and it's, not unheard of for me to be wrong. I'd say it's unusual, but
Fair enough.
but you guys, if you guys can continue to make that work, you guys could make the playoffs, and I definitely wouldn't write you off by any means. even though I do, even putting you at the bottom, I just think it's very competitive this season where it hasn't been in previous seasons, and your competition is very stiff.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, that's that's about it. I think you guys did a very good job tonight, and I'm impressed and glad that you guys have at least in that one match have stepped it up and really shown me that you guys are not out of it by any means.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what you wrote. It maybe was I don't know. I wouldn't say you were 100% wrong. I mean, the first couple of matches we got some breaks and some setups that but they've also been some moments where we really shone in some of those matches, including the one where we almost pulled off the win on Stars. I mean, that was just I could taste it. That was frustrating not to have that one.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was definitely a nail biter. I mean, I believe I was casting that one live. Maybe it was a replay, but either way, it was a nail biter and had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
I might have blinked a couple of times during the match.
You might have you weren't completely wrong, but I think you may not have given us all the credit that we might have been due. I do think that we're looking strong going into third place. Once again, Hydra is I think our main competition. Sharks are still very stiff, very very difficult competitors, but I think the real competition is going to be Hydra for third place. I don't know. Brutes and Stars have very very good teams, and it's going to be a tough fight, but it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough trying to figure out how we're going to overcome those two.
Well, here's to hoping you can overcome Stars and maybe fall a little short of that against Brutes.
Want to know the secret to beating Stars? Don't target Kiid.
Don't target Kiid.
Don't target Kiid.
I think that might be the wrong strategy. I think you might be trying to mislead us.
Basically, I try not to use kid or puck in the same sentence. I don't like to be anywhere near him.
Drop kicked?
Oh no, not at all.
Alright,
not at
guys.
all. See, in this case, drop kick is normally like where you run and you jump and put both feet in somebody's chest. In my case, you actually hold me like a football and drop kick me.
Alright, anything you guys would like to talk about before we sign off?
I'm good.
Alright,
see you guys.
Take that as a no then. Thank you guys for coming on. Hopefully, you'll continue to hop on with me after matches. I think these kind of after-game discussions are really nice to have.
Sure.
So thank you again, and good luck with the rest of the season.
We'll do.
Sure, thank you.
You've done a great job with this thing, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been impressed.
All right. Good night, folks.
Good night.